Now at 10, a new law in Oklahoma could mean residents will spend less money on groceries. Plus, the Miami City Council discusses the financial future of a senior center. And the Missouri Southern Lions kick off the football season with a trip to Texas.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Much of the nation tonight saw a long-awaited interview on the road to the November election. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. Democratic presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris sat down with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, for their first interview since they officially accepted their nominations. The candidates also hit the campaign trail, as did the Republican candidate, former President Donald Trump. Natalie Brand has the latest.
Hi, how are you?
Vice President Kamala Harris gave her first sit-down interview since she became the Democratic candidate for president. She said on day one she would focus on improving the economy.
One of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
Harris decided to answer questions alongside her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, for the interview, broadcast in prime time on CNN.
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values.
Before the interview aired, Harris held a rally in Savannah, Georgia, where she touched on the issue of abortion.
It is a fight for freedom. Like the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
The Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump, also spoke about women's health during a rally in Michigan, focusing on the issue of in vitro fertilization.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women.
Trump also appeared Thursday night in Battleground, Wisconsin, during a town hall moderated by former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Trump is scheduled to be back on the campaign trail Friday in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Walz is devoting some of his time to fundraising for the campaign over the next couple of days. Boy, another hot one out there. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, super hot one, just like we have seen all week long. Temperatures well into the upper 90s. 99 was our high today. 77 is where we started out. Average temperature is 88. Record high 103 set back in 2000. It's still 82 in Joplin, 78 in Pittsburgh. Temperatures have been hot all day long, and that's what we're going to continue to see tonight, at least warm temperatures. Some isolated thunderstorms for us earlier this evening. Most of those are gone, but we're tracking more thunderstorms back to our north and to our west. Those will start to roll in later on tonight. So here's 4:30 in the morning, scattered thunderstorms southeastern Kansas. Very hit and miss the first half of the day, and then once we get into the afternoon, thunderstorms will start to get going again along the I-44 corridor and south. So this is going to be very hit and miss for us on Friday and lasting into the weekend. We're going to be talking about that here in just a bit.
See you soon. City of Miami officially took over the Miami Senior Center tonight. The center says the move was necessary due to funding. The city considered taking legal action to ensure the senior center was transferred in accordance with their bylaws, but decided against doing so. The city discussed taking on various finances like fixing the roof and other things at their discretion.
Some of that upkeep stuff it will be an adjustment, but we have our own guys that can do a lot of that work. The building's really in pretty good shape, so we don't see a whole lot that has to be done immediately. We have a roof leak that probably needs to be addressed, and we've already started working on that.
The city will allow Docs, the food delivery service, to remain at the senior center and continue serving senior citizens. People in Oklahoma are going to save some money on their grocery bills starting today. KOAM's Anthony Saviello explains the elimination of the state's grocery tax.
A tax cut in Oklahoma could start making a difference for people in Oklahoma who have struggled to put groceries on the table. Back in February, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signing the 4.5% tax cut bill on groceries into law that will completely cut taxes off of groceries. That bill now in effect. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average family spent $5,702 on groceries in 2022. Governor Stitt says this bill could save families $60 a month on groceries that would total up to $720 in savings per year. There are exclusions that Oklahomans need to be aware of. For instance, this tax cut does not apply to clothes shopping, alcohol, or pre-made foods such as what you may find at a restaurant or your favorite fast food joint. Despite the exclusions, Oklahomans may start to see more bang for their buck and their fridges filling up.
Anthony Saviello, the new law will prohibit the raising of grocery tax rates by local governments until July of 2025. The Granby, Missouri Police Department will soon have some brand new bulletproof vests. It's thanks to a $2,300 check from Hero Fund USA. The organization raises money to help first responders buy life-saving equipment. Granby PD officials say the vests will allow their officers to better serve the community, knowing they are better protected themselves.
Oh, they're heaven sent. Like I said, it's a must to have ballistic vests in law enforcement this day and age. So they've been great to us.
How are you, sir? Good. How are you?
Hero Fund USA is based out of Blue Springs, Missouri. An Oklahoma wildlife park is working to reopen just 2 weeks after heavy damage from storm. The director of Creation Safari Wildlife Park in Wyandotte, Oklahoma, says the park had about $50,000 in storm damage. Things such as their bird enclosures were destroyed. Luckily, no animals were injured as a result of the storms. The park director says the park isn't letting the storm stop them, and with the help of the community, they're working to rebuild.
We've come to expect that we live in a great community, and people reach out to help. You know, we try to reach out and help others, and others have reached out to help us. So we have an amazing community here.
With cleanup help from the community, the wildlife park is reopening for Labor Day weekend. Park operators say that's the busiest weekend of the year for them. A medical clinic in Joplin is doing its part to educate young people on sexually transmitted infections. That's coming up. Plus, some towns in southwest Missouri began putting the pieces back together after storms rolled through their communities.
The Silverback Fund.
STIs, or sexually transmitted infections, is a subject a lot of people might not want to talk about. But Choices Medical Services in Joplin wants to educate the community, especially young people, about the STI rate in our area and across the nation. And as KOIM's Lonnie Walton shows us, the number of cases is alarming.
For the first time ever in our clinic's history in 2023, and we're on track for 2024, we're actually going to have higher numbers of syphilis-positive cases than gonorrhea. And
Misha Long is the director of nursing at Choices Medical Services in Joplin. She says young people make up half the cases reported.
Of those, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and then syphilis, that's 2.5 million cases in a single year. And the CDC says 50% of those cases, those new cases, would be in the ages 15 to 24. So high school to college age. Even though that percentage of our population is a small percentage, those individuals make up 50% of the new cases each year.
In our area, the numbers are even higher.
Missouri specifically is above the national average for HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia for all of those infections.
Chelsea Delgado, Choices Prevention Service Director, says there are several reasons why these numbers are so high.
When you're dating and you're a teenager, you're not likely to enter into a marriage-like relationship. You're more likely to have several back-to-back relationships.
Before you jump into your next relationship, Long says it's a good idea to know your status.
At the end of the day, these statistics reflect people. And so we want to be able to serve people, serve them well, and make sure they are healthy and making healthier choices.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
Choices Medical Services also helps people facing human trafficking situations. The use of cannabis remained at historically high levels among young and middle-aged adults in 2023. That's according to the latest survey conducted by researchers at the University of Michigan. About 40% of people ages 19 to 30 years old reported using cannabis in the past year, with about 10% saying they use cannabis nearly every day. Nicotine vaping also stayed high among both groups of adults. A new U.S. Food and Drug Administration rule will require retailers to check the ID of any tobacco product buyers under the age of 30, up from the previous age limit of 27. The FDA said its final rule also restricts tobacco vending machine sales to places limited to people 21 and older. The agency said the main goal of the changes is to make it more difficult for underage people to get access to these products. The new restrictions apply to traditional tobacco products as well as newer ones like e-cigarettes, which are most popular among underage smokers. A little bit later, ways to tell if your oak tree is suffering from a deadly summertime disease.
Plus, we have rain chances increasing over the next few days. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, hot again for us today. Temperatures up there right around 100 degrees. Heat index about 102, 103. It's been humid, not extremely humid, but still making it feel worse than what it actually is. Here's a great shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. All right, so here's what's happening over the next few days. We have a cold front. It's technically a cold front. It's more like a cool front. It's going to be pushing in. With the front, it's going to give us chances for showers and thunderstorms and cool our temperatures down. Now it's going to stay warm and humid for us tonight. Lower 80s will drop back lower 70s once again. So we do know our temps are going to cool down. We also need some rain because here's our new drought tracker from Independence and Bartlesville. Moderate drought. Pittsburgh, Joplin, Neosho, also a moderate drought. We did get a few isolated hit and miss storms during the afternoon. Most of us are pretty good right now. We have one little cell just to the west of Stockton Lake. Most of the action is back to our north and to our west from Minnesota all the way back down through the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Not very strong, moderate thunderstorms are going to start to push in later on tonight, mainly north of I-44, not anything too strong or severe. So let's start to walk through the holiday weekend. After midnight, a few storms get in to southeastern Kansas, but they really fall apart as they work in. So by morning, a few hit and miss little guys north of I-44, but most of us are going to be dry. Here's the noon hour. Notice the temperatures cooler, mid to upper 80s, still most of us dry, but once we get into late afternoon, scattered thunderstorms pop up mainly along the I-44 corridor. So the bigger storms will be along and south of I-44. Here's 9 p.m. They start to tame down a little bit tomorrow night, and then once we get into Saturday morning, again, hit and miss showers along the I-44 corridor, but any thunderstorms that we get that day, I think will be in our far southern counties. So hit and miss storms tomorrow, and then a few isolated storms once we get into Saturday. So not a bad weekend by any means, and temperatures are going to be better. All right, rainfall potential. We'll have to see where those bigger storms kind of set up, and again, nothing too strong or severe, but a lot of us will pick up half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch as this front pushes through. 72 to start, 85 by noon, high temp of 89, which is 10 degrees cooler than what we did see today. Thunderstorms starting to develop as we get into the evening. Let's go into the holiday weekend. We're going to go into Saturday, probably the most busiest day of area lakes and people camping. Stockton looking pretty good. Let's go into northeastern Oklahoma. Here's Grand Lake. A few hit and miss storms that we'll have to keep our eyes on. A little bit more numerous once you go east. Branson, Kimberling City, Shellnam, over toward Eagle Rock. So dodging storms, also dodging storms once we get down into northwest Arkansas for Beaver Lake. So those hit and miss storms, a very slight chance again on Sunday. A little bit warmer Sunday and then back down to 85 on Labor Day itself. So the second half of the holiday weekend will be the drier stretch. Tomorrow and Saturday, hit and miss storms. But then we stay into the 80s really for about the next 10 days, which is way better than near 100 like we've had all week.
Yeah, not only are the highs relatively pleasant, but the lows overnight
pretty good
almost
too.
chilly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. The University of Missouri Plant Diagnostic Clinic is offering free oak tree testing for deadly diseases like oak wilt through the end of the year. Nicolette Zangara tells us what signs to look for and how to send in a sample.
This initiative is a combined effort between the University of Missouri and the Missouri Department of Conservation.
The main goal with this program is that the diseases that they are testing for right now will spread to nearby oak trees.
They're testing for oak wilt and bacterial leaf scorch.
Most of the time, oak wilt is vectored or carried from tree to tree by insects. So it's really hard to track how the disease is spread from tree to tree, but once your tree contracts oak wilt, it's pretty much a done deal. Bacterial leaf scorch is another one, but it's bacterial instead of fungal, obviously, but you'll see on it that the leaves will just, like middle of summer, just turn brown and start falling off everywhere.
If your oak tree is showing signs of bacterial leaf scorch, there are some key things that you need to do to ensure the best sample for testing. The first thing is getting a Ziploc bag and a wet paper towel. That's going to keep the leaves nice and fresh while they're in shipment. You're going to need 20 to 30 leaves and make sure that the stems are still attached. That is one of the most important parts that they'll look at for testing.
They're testing different parts of the leaf for the bacteria that cause bacterial leaf scorch, and sometimes they're concentrated in that leaf stem. So it's important to send a good sample in so that they can have that plant tissue to test.
This saves the average homeowner $25 per test. But Boyer says it helps the arborists too.
If the university is going to test this stuff for free, why not do it? The results that they're going to get from this testing is going to benefit all of us in the arboriculture community because it's data that we normally don't get.
The electricity is back on in the Jasper County community of Scotland, Missouri, after a storm tore through that area last night. Storm hit areas of Dunaweg and Carterville as well as Scotland at about 5:20 p.m. The storm took down multiple trees and sheds. Multiple roofs were damaged also. In Scotland, a sheet metal building at a trucking company was stripped of its metal. High winds also blew a semi-truck onto its side. Still ahead, Pitt State football previews its top 10 matchup against Ferris State on Saturday, and highlights from Missouri Southern football season opener against Midwestern State tonight. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Macadoodles.
Missouri Southern football begins its 2024 season tonight. The Lions are on the road for a non-conference game in week 0. They travel to Wichita Falls, Texas to take on the Midwestern State Mustangs. Lions take the field at Memorial Stadium. Non-conference opponent to begin the year, it's Midwestern State. Opening drive of the game is where we pick it up. Luke Sampson finds Halim Dixon King. He drags defenders out of bounds. That would set up a 43-yard field goal by Drake Reese. It splits the uprights and the Lions lead early, 3-0. Later on in that first quarter, game's tied 3-3. Third down and long. Chris Williams brings the heat with a blitz up the middle. He picks up a huge sack. Lions force a punt on that play. Couple of plays later, Southern on its own 4-yard line. Snap is too high for Luke Sampson. It ends up being a safety after that goes over his head. Midwestern State now leads. Mustangs up 5-3. We head to the second quarter, time running down. Zach Bergman picks that one out of the air for the interception. Lions have a chance to score right before the end of the half, but once they get it back, Sampson looking to throw, that ball intercepted. Lions just never got into a rhythm on offense. They fall to Midwestern State 18-11 in the season opener.
Sloppy. We were not at our best. I thought we did some really good things defensively. We got some really key stops. I thought we got some turnovers. I thought we, did some decent things on defense, and offensively we did some good things too. It was just maintaining it. It was consistency, and being able to do that for 4 quarters and not just in spurts.
Pittsburgh State football has its Week 0 game on Saturday. The Gorillas open up the 2024 season with a top 10 battle against Ferris State Saturday night. It's a night game, special alternate black uniforms, and it has all of Pittsburgh fired up.
Yeah, I love the atmosphere of night games, especially here in Pittsburgh. The atmosphere is always crazy. I just think for us guys, just kind of waiting around all day, ready to play the game is kind of some of that stuff that seeps in. But no, we're ready for a great atmosphere, and it's always that here playing in front of our home crowd at night.
They're ready. They've been preparing for this game. Obviously, I think that's the challenge as a coach, is obviously to keep them focused on the present, the moment, the today. There's a lot of guys that played in that game a few years ago that have really been motivated, for this game for the last few months. And I think that's probably been our biggest challenge as a staff, is to just keep them focused on today.
Closing things out with Division I college football. Here's a couple scores from tonight. KU and Mizzou open the year against FCS opponents. They both win big. 11th ranked Tigers dominate Murray State 51-0. Kansas just as successful. The 22nd ranked Jayhawks beat Lindenwood 48-3. That's it for sports. We're back after this.
It's been too hot for a while, but things are going to start trending in a little better direction.
Yeah, it's still going to be warm. We're going to be into the 80s over the next several days, but way better than 100 degrees like we have been seeing. 89 tomorrow, 84 Saturday, 89 on Sunday, 85 on Monday, which is Labor Day. Hit and miss storms, especially tomorrow and Saturday. Overall, not too bad.
No, those temps look really good, in fact. Final sports note.
We get our first taste of high school football tomorrow. Kansas schools don't start till next week, but for Missouri and Oklahoma, it's week 1.
College football tonight. We have high school football coming up, and then NFL before long. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, the morning show starts at 5 a.m. Let's make it a great tomorrow.